to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
So, first of all, it's awesome to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us.
Of course, man. I'm on my day off today, so we're in LA.
Oh, so we lucked out.
Yeah, man, totally.
Dang, man. So yeah, I'm kind of like gonna fanboy here a second because man, I've been a Fear Factory fan for decades.
Yeah, man.
Like we're Soul New Machine, Demanufacture way back then, tons of shows, and I messaged you on a whim, and it was like, you know what, I'm just gonna see, and sent it. When you responded, I shook my wife. I was like, oh man, you'll never guess what just happened. And she was like, I'm trying to sleep. I'm like, oh no, I'll just tell you in the morning.
No, wake up.
Yeah. It was really awesome, man. It was really awesome. So we honestly appreciate you doing this. This is awesome. Totally awesome.
Let's go, man. I'm honored, absolutely.
I mean, I followed a lot of that transition because, like I said, I've been a Fear Factory fan for quite some time. So when all of the separation happened, and then the we're looking for a new singer, I watched everybody's audition tapes and was listening, and just like I guess the rest of the world, patiently waited for that announcement to happen that Fear Factory had landed a new singer. And of course, me and my buddy Nate here, we talk Fear Factory news all the time. It's
like every day. I mean, I cut my teeth in metal in general on Fear Factory. I think it was the original Mortal Kombat soundtrack release.
Right.
I was a kid when that movie came out, and of course, it was every bit of badass it needed to be. And then I heard the soundtrack, and I'm like, what? So that was my introduction to metal of any kind, really, let alone Fear Factory. And then, I mean, I don't know, the obsolete, especially the song Edge Crusher, just like it kind of set a huge, like, major staple for me going forward. But fandom aside, fanboy stuff aside, what is your history with Fear Factory? I mean, were you a huge fan to begin with? Did you how did you find out about the audition? Like, let's start from the beginning.
So my story with Fear Factory as a fan starts a little bit later. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those like old school fans. I just discovered them in I think it was 2006 or 2007. But that was enough for me, to just become a diehard fan ever since. It was like almost like love at first sight. And
wow, so it was late 2006, you said?
Yeah, somewhere between 2006 2007, which by the way also happened to be the moment where I started singing, because I've been playing drums since I was 12, but singing came a little bit later, around that era, 18, 19 years old. And Fear Factory came like slightly after. When I discovered them, I was kind of singing a little bit already, but when I discovered them, it was even another influence to add up, to all my vocal influences. And I became kind of obsessed with the band in no time. Like I remember the Immortal being my first favorite album because it was coming from all that groovy sound, groovy down-tuned sound, like Korn, Cold Chamber, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that hooked me up. That I was hooked for some reason. But then of course I went to Obsolete, then Demanufacture, Soul New Machine,
and you were just covering these songs? Is that what you were doing? You're just covering them just because?
Well, not at first. I mean, I had my own band, which I still have, that was really influenced by, Fear Factory, of course. Especially when I discovered them, I started being influenced by them a lot. And since I do pretty much everything in my band, I record guitars, drums, and bass, synthesizer, vocals, I started arranging songs with a lot of Fear Factory influences for sure. And but then the covers came a little bit later. So the very first cover, Fear Factory cover I put on YouTube was actually Fear Campaign, which was like a crazy experiment in 2014. And I, for some reason, I decided to do a full band cover, because I'm a drummer. I play a little bit of guitar, bass, and I sing. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, try to do a full band cover. But for some reason, I picked up one of the most difficult fucking Fear Factory songs ever, which is Fear Campaign, and that was challenging for sure. Either on guitars and on drums, and it was really challenging because I'm more like a pocket groove drummer, I to play like more double bass, fast double bass stuff. It took me a while to learn it, and same with the guitar. So, but it was fun, and but then that was it, I always struggle with determination for some reason, so I couldn't like keep on doing covers and stuff like that. So it was like, okay, just put it out, and that was it. But then for some odd reason, even before knowing about audition or stuff like that, I decided to put out the Soul Machine medley in January 2020, and that was really like, I'm not necessarily like a spiritual guy, but that's one of those meant to be things, and like,
Yeah.
Right.
okay, this is impressive. So I decided to put out the cover because I was like, fuck it, I want to put out some vocal covers, just to showcase some of my vocal skills or whatever, or even just my passion for all my favorite bands, and for some reason I decided to pick up Fear Factory first. I mean, maybe, yeah, I know the reason, they're my favorite band. So so and I picked up Soul Machine for some reason. I don't know, maybe I thought that album deserved some extra love, because
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
It's a heavy album. It's probably one of the heaviest ones. It's
right.
It's not as commercialized as the others, but it's still a great heavy album.
Yeah,
So,
right. And I always found fascinating that harsh vocal style that was mostly on that record. Was later on, Bird tried to evolve in a more like shouty, still with a lot of distortion to it, a lot of grunt to it, but more like slightly high pitch and shouty kind of scream, which is awesome. But that album has more of a abrasive low pitch grunt, which I love. It's so visceral and so beastie. I don't know, it's just unbelievable. And I wanted to experiment more with that because my scream has always been more like, I always been influenced by vocalists like Wayne from Static X and Daz from Cold Chamber, which is mostly like in the mid high range. And I wanted to experiment more in that low range. I was like, okay, I want to, I like the challenge, and I want to experiment more the guttural, low guttural growls, and so that was it. And put out the cover on the very first January 1st, 2020, and none of us, saw the COVID coming. That wasn't the thing yet. So but slightly before COVID, I posted the cover, and Dino saw it because I posted it on a Facebook page called New Breed. New Breed, the Fear Factory.
Yeah, because I follow that too.
Yeah, and because I was looking for a Facebook fan page that had the most high number of followers, basically. So I wanted to showcase it to as many people as possible. So I was like, okay, let's post it there. And the first one to comment on it was Dino.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
he commented like, fucking amazing. And I'm like, oh man, the master himself, what an honor. But that was it. It was just like, I was happy that he gave me a compliment. I was, that for me, I was fulfilled already. I couldn't see what was coming, So then the pandemic kicked in, and of course we were all bored as fuck and all, all filled with negativity and lockdown. And Italy kicked in before, so it was really bad. All musicians were trying, to come up with ways to kill boredom, basically. So I was like, okay, this is the right time for another cover, and that was the time for Resurrection and Timelessness. So again, I posted it on New Breed Facebook page, and Dino commented again, and I think the next day he hit me up on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and that was the moment where it blew my mind. Like, what the fuck is happening? Wow, I was blown away. Like if Dino messages you, something is cooking. Something's happening. So I was like,
Right.
okay, this is crazy. And so the rest is history.
Did you by chance watch any of the other auditions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. There were a lot of amazing vocalists for sure. There were some girls even.
Yeah, there was
yeah.
there was some females in there that, because I watched the whole slate of them, and was right there in deep, I guess, trying to go, who's he gonna pick? Who's he gonna pick? Because a lot of those were great.
Yeah.
And when he kept it under wraps for so long, you chomp at the bit going, okay, come on, Dino, you got to tell us, give us the tidbit here.
And it was awesome how much they shared with everybody. Like he took in, he shared a lot of the input and a lot of the letting people in on the auditions and kind of get an opinion for themselves. And during that process, while you were watching them, were you concerned or nervous or interested in some of the others?
I was definitely concerned and nervous because I was like, okay, when you get that call of the possibility of joining your number one fucking favorite band, you can't help yourself but building castles of ambitions and hopes, even though I tried so hard to stay with my feet on the ground, like we say in Italy, like stay grounded, and try not to fly high too much, but still, I couldn't help but building castles, like in castles of hopes, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so of course I was checking stuff every day. I don't have a Twitter, and never meant to have a Twitter account, but I made like a blank Twitter account just to follow Dino and to see what, because some stuff he was posting just on Twitter. So I was like, okay, I need to keep up with what he posts. And I remember when he announced about the audition, like, I'm looking for a singer. So first of all, at first it was for a Dino solo project. It wasn't meant for Fear Factory because they were still in legal suit. Then like a bunch of months later, till 2020, Burton left the band, and so Dino announced that that audition was then at that point meant for Fear Factory. But since the first time he put out the the announcement for the auditions, I think it was really, first of all, it blew up, because people sending auditions and here and there, and it was crazy. It was crazy time. And yeah, so it's I really started to see myself in that position, and like, I gotta get that spot. I gotta get that spot. And and I remember he posted on Twitter, which flattered me a lot. Like, he posted my Resurrection cover on Twitter, and he's like, "This is the best guy I heard so far," and that was just on Twitter. So I had, for some reason, I saw it somewhere, so I was like, okay, I gotta create a blank Twitter account just to see that stuff. And so I was following it every day, trying to keep track, watching all the interviews. There was an interview when he spoke my name for the first time, and I was like crazy about it. Oh my God, I can't believe it. He spoke my name, which he said Milo, this is this guy Milo from Rome.
Yeah, we were actually kind of curious too. We had to research a little bit because here in America we spell things or say things kind of differently.
I know, right? but that was cool though, because for us Italians, when something is Americanized, we think it's cool, so it's like,
Oh, really?
Milo. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, then I
It's a
said a
thing.
lot of stupid things in November when I was in Rome that I don't think I got that same reaction. So I was humbled. I'm like, no, please correct me. I'm curious, but yeah.
So you were in Rome in November?
Yeah, my wife and I took a trip for about a week.
Nice. How did you like it?
We roamed around a bit of Italy, not all of it. We definitely plan to come back. But yeah, no, when I heard where you were from, I was like, man, that's so cool. And I was curious if there was any difficulty, like for them to reach out to someone in Italy. Was there any complications getting things in the way?
Well, the main complication was COVID for sure, because of COVID there was a travel ban in the US, as you guys probably know. And so if you were in one of those ban list, one of those country in that ban list, like Italy, and pretty much every country of the Schengen area in Europe. So if you spent the last 14 days in one of those countries, you couldn't go to the US. So you had to spend at least 14 days in one of those countries that were not part of the ban. And so let's say Mexico was one of those countries. And so there was a moment where I thought, if I want to really get the gig, I had to do some crazy shit, like maybe, go to Mexico, in the middle of nowhere and spend 14 days there and then go to LA, but fortunately they dropped the travel ban early enough, just early enough for me to fly here for the audition, which was November 2021, because Dino has been, he started asking me about coming here for the physical audition since probably early 2021. But I was like, man, I wish I could come, but there's a travel ban. I don't know what to do. So it really jeopardized my audition for sure, and my possibility of getting the gig for sure. But not enough to the point of fucking it up, fortunately. But
Right.
But I was scared. I was scared because we didn't know, and of course after that it was all the bureaucratic ordeal of the visa and stuff like that, So yeah, there was a little bit of ordeal for sure, but we made it eventually.
Well, you must have left a hell of an impression because I mean, even all the struggles aside, like you were there from the beginning. Dino was really pumped about you, and it seemed like you had a lot of support in general from a lot of the fan base. And there was some radio silence here and there, and we were curious what was happening. But of course, naturally, whenever you do auditions for a band who's been so iconic for so long, like a very iconic voice that has to be filled, so to speak. How much pressure did you feel, or were you put on any pressure to mimic as close as possible, or did you have freedom to kind of flex a little bit in your own way?
Well, of course, the last words belong to Dino. Like, of course, it's his band, so it's his will. It's important. Like, so I wanted to listen to what he wanted first, but I kind of knew that he wanted to replicate the vocal style, as faithfully as possible, because it's like you said, it's so iconic. And one of the things that I love most about vocalists like Bert and Sibel is like they're so iconic. I mean, you can tell that it's him, and
Right.
amongst 1,000 vocalists, and this is what I really love about my favorite vocalists. They're all unique, and so of course you don't really want to stray away from that style too much. And I always thought that if I would have become the new singer, it was much needed to pay homage to that style, and not not just to imitate, or be like a carbon copy, but because it's just style. If you want to replace, I don't know, let's say whatever singer, you don't want to stray away from it too much. It's part of the sound. It's so the thing is, people think when you're singing in a very similar way of another singer that came before you, you're imitating him. But I don't see it as imitating. I see more as like nailing the style. If you do it with the guitar, you see it not as much as imitating because it's playing, but with vocals, since vocals, it's when it comes to vocals, the instrument you play is your body basically,
Right.
but it's your own self as well. I mean, it's kind of tricky, but so you think you're imitating, but it's not. It's like nailing the style. So I remember Dino was sending me acapellas back then. There was a time where he's like, I could find some stems from the Obsolete record, and so here's the acapellas for Resurrection and Timelessness, and I'm like, oh, good. What am I supposed to do with it? And he's like, just listen and study his style. He was all about vocal styles, to study his style, because he told me he was impressed by how much I nailed his style, but he wanted me to study it even more. Like really dial in into the Burton C. Bell style, because that's a huge part of your factory sound. So yeah, to answer your question, that's how much he and I cared and worked on duplicating the style.
And it's funny that you say that, because it seems that watching, some of the live clips that are out there, that the fans are super receptive to it. Of course, but yet, like with anything else, there's always the haters that are going to hate. And I've seen some of the backlash that's come your way, which I think is kind of ridiculous. I mean, you guys are a new era of Fear Factory, which I embrace because I think it's great. I think it's great that you're performing these songs that other generations deserve to hear. It's no different than the Pantera issue.
Right.
I think it's phenomenal that you embrace Burton's vocals and respect them for what they are, and put them out there, to the fans the way that they need. It needs to be done.
Right.
I'd pay to see it. I mean, it's Fear Factory, like I said, man. But like I said, I think that the fans, I mean, have been extremely receptive to you. They can't, I guess, expect a Burton C replica. It's not, no pun intended.
I get it.
Yeah, but
I've heard that before.
I mean, I even saw comments where they give you flack over the hair. I'm like, come on, guys, for real. I mean, he's up there doing exactly what you said, and what Dino had said is that you respect Burton's vocals, and you wanted it to be, that's Fear Factory, that's what it's known for, besides the quadruple picking and
Right.
So by all means, I think from what I've seen, the fans absolutely love it. I mean, are you getting that in return? Do you feel that? Do you see any haters out there throwing shade?
I mean, we totally saw all the love and support from the majority of the Fear Factory fan base since day one, which, I'm really thankful and humbled for, because, that you don't take it for granted, right? I mean, I remember since the early days of the audition, Dino was like, okay, if I hire you as a new singer, just be ready. It's gonna be a fucking shitstorm. People are gonna fucking attack you, So he was trying to prepare me mentally, because he's like, I don't want it to fuck up your game, your mental game, because that can happen. But much of our surprise when he announced me, like the very majority, I would say probably 80 or 90% of those fans were super happy, and they haven't heard me, that haven't heard me yet at that point. It was, but just out of trust, because haven't heard me yet, but they were totally supportive. Cheers, man, congrats, blah blah. And then when we played the first show, and then the next shows, they were all happy, and we were happy that they were happy because
Right?
Huge relief.
I mean, you guys are
Yeah.
playing sold out shows.
Right.
I mean, how
Yeah,
could that?
and we started in the best way possible, touring with Static X, which is one of my other favorite bands, and great people, and another iconic band, and the fan. I think we share a lot of the fan base because all that industrial new metal and alternative whatever
Yeah.
music. I think there is a common fan base, and so I am still so extremely thankful for all the people and fans that are supporting this, because again you don't take it for granted. There are I know a lot of bands, like very huge bands, that changed not just the singer, maybe even like band members, and they didn't do as great. So I think I'm really blessed. We're all really blessed for that. So I'm really thankful for all the people that are supporting us. There are a few haters, but that's if you don't have haters, something is wrong, right?
Sure.
I mean, you gotta have haters.
I mean, they're just splitting hairs.
Right,
They're
exactly.
Yeah.
just picking.
The hair thing that you just mentioned is really funny because they're so clueless that they just assume things like, oh, that Dino is an asshole because he's like forcing that guy into being Bert, and I'm like, I choose that.
Right.
What you talking about? He's trying so hard to make that guy look like Bert, and I'm like, no, he didn't. I mean, he was just like, I had short hair, so the only thing he told me was like, dude, grow your hair because that's the look I want you to go for. And I'm like, okay, can I at least shave the sides? And he was like, okay, I'll just shave the sides, because that I never saw myself as like a full grown hair kind of dude. But
I hear you, man.
I always been like to be creative with my hair. I always color my hair, because all of my favorite bands, including Fear Factory, had colored hairs. But not just Bird. Bird had red hair just on obsolete. I think it was.
Yeah, that was just, it was. Yeah, it was a phase.
It was a stint.
Yeah,
it was just
but
a phase.
It wasn't. Yeah, but it wasn't just him. It was a thing in the 90s, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I always color my hair because of all my favorite musicians in my favorite bands, like Cold Chamber and Spine Shank and Static X. Like Ken, I'm a huge fan of Ken J from Static X. He had red hair too, and during the Wisconsin Death Trip era. So it's just the look I always went for, and but at first I had just my normal color, and then during the European tour last year, I was like, why don't I bleach my hair? And first, I was like, are you sure? Okay, let's try it. It wasn't like he decided. It was my thing, and then I did it. I was like, oh, people likes it, so it's cool. And then I'm like, why don't I, dye them red? And he's like, are you sure? Okay, let's try it. And at first it was like, oh, maybe blonde was better, but then later on it was like, oh, you know what? No, you cool red. Keep going red. I'm like, okay, I like it. We all like it.
Yeah, see, that's much simpler than people talk it up to be. Like, it's like, no, it was just a couple of grown adults curious having a conversation, and not
right. I mean, it's so sometimes. All the time they're so clueless because they're just assuming thing, and that's the funny part. But then another funny part, I think the majority of the negative comments nowadays are just like cover band, you're just a cover band, blah blah, you're not no burden of Fear Factory. But I'm just having fun replying to them in my Roman dialect, which they can hardly understand probably, but it's just to make some of my Italian fellows laugh, because if you respond with such like a regional dialect, it's so funny, so
sure,
just having fun. but of course you can't take them seriously because those people don't even exist. It just they're
Right.
just like crying at the corner in their bedroom because their favorite musician is no longer in their favorite band, which I kind of understand. I mean, I was like that when I was 20. Those are
Sure.
grown ass. A lot of them, I saw the pictures of some of them are grown ass men with kids, and I'm like, dude, what are you gonna teach your kids? Just being a
Right.
hateful, spiteful dude. Chill out and grow. Grow up. So, but I recall when I was 20, there was one of my favorite bands that changed the drummer, and I was so really obsessed with the previous drummer. I'm like, I don't like the style of the new drummer. I like the previous better. I think the new drummer doesn't, his style doesn't fit. You replace the parts, blah blah. Fuck that guy. So I've been through that phase when I was really young, like
Right.
teenager-ish. But again, I was like teenager. Yeah,
Same
but
here.
then I think probably it happened to almost all of us metalheads, because I think that's because we're so passionate about our music and we get so attached to our heroes. Then when they walk away, we're just like, I want it back, But
Well, we also have access to anything and everything that's ever been recorded by anyone at any time. So it's just like, all right, well, if you like that version better, just go back and listen to that.
Right.
Like, I mean,
Mhm.
we have access to that in our pocket at any time. Like, if you like that version of us better, then go back and listen to it. We're doing this now. We've
Right.
grown and adapted and changed.
Right. So I think the most important thing is that growing up, which I did, and realized that was fucked up and it's not fair to do that, because the person you're talking shit about is a dedicated artist and musician who tours and work their asses off
Yeah.
for making people happy, and then why you're gonna talk shit about someone that's making people happy. You're just a jerk. So
Yeah.
Great.
so yeah, I mean, and that's what I always what I said sometimes to those people, like, why do you really want to talk shit to people who are working their asses off
Yeah,
for
they're just trying.
making, and they're like, so my favorite part about those people it's like they wanted to, all of a sudden they become reasonable and like, oh bro, but life is tough, so if you wanna, you can't get offended by everything, you have to man up and grow some thick skin. And I'm like, is that how it works? I thought you probably need to grow up and being less of a jerk. But yeah, okay, I guess I need to grow some skin then, to
Yeah,
some
I mean,
thick
never
skin.
mind.
It's
Their one comment is seen by a couple dozen people, but like every single night you're in front of thousands of people that feel the exact opposite. I mean, it's for
right.
every one of them, you've got thousands, if not millions of people that are willing to take their spot in the crowd if they don't buy a ticket. It's a difficult spot to be in, where you are someone that at least as accessible as you guys have been, at least through this process, that you give them a platform to say something, and they choose their powers for evil. And I understand why a lot of artists and creators and stuff, they hang up, they hang their hat. They're like, all right, this, it's not worth it. The world has changed. But there are a lot of bands and a lot of just creative people that I have followed since I was a child, that just keep coming out with new work. And it's like, look, you sold me years ago. Like, you don't owe me anything. If you
Right.
want to keep putting out material, absolutely do it. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to buy it. And I may feel like this album is not as good as this one or this and that, but it's just the fact that you still feel the need to adapt and change and at least
Right.
keep creating stuff. Like, you already have my fandom. And I just hope you feel that, just how proud that the industry and all your fans and really just the whole genre is, of the fact that there are people who are willing to make those adjustments and change and grow, and subject themselves to the slings and arrows of the internet nowadays that they didn't have before. So again,
Right.
it's an incredible feat that you've done, and I don't know. It's such a cool story, and we're very proud of you and what you've accomplished.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
So pushing forward, does that mean that we could see a new Fear Factory album in the future?
I mean, we've been talking about it since literally day one, but it turned out to a circumstance where we're overwhelmed with tour offers,
Right.
And Dino's like, yeah, I don't feel like turning them down because I feel like the band needs to be back on the road right now, and so we're still hopeful and looking forward for recording new music for sure. Of course, we constantly talk about it. We have recorded some scratch ideas here and there. I know Dino has like 7 or 8 songs, which I heard. Just like scratch songs like program drums and riffs here and there. But it's all like it really depends on the tour offers, because the more tour offers we receive, the more we just can't turn them down, because the band, he feels, and I agree with that, then the band needs to be back on the road and rebuild that live credibility, which unfortunately, for a bunch of reasons you probably know, it was not there in the last bunch of years, so yeah. But we're definitely gonna release some new music soon. We wished to we hoped that we had enough time to release at least a single this year, but hopefully, I don't know. That was the plan, but
Right.
hopefully
I
we
knew.
will.
Yeah, I knew that there was talk. I know Dino had talked early that it was about hiring a singer and then dropping a single, just so people could hear your vocals over something that was fresh and new,
Right.
as opposed to okay, well, here's a singer, he's going to come out and sing all of the the old stuff. We don't have nothing new to offer. So I mean, I'll wait until the cows come home for a new Fear
Right.
Factory, album, single, whatever. And the minute it drops, I'm going to play the shit out of it, just because that's what it's about. But
Right.
you did mention a lot of the touring. You guys have a fresh tour coming up at the end of this summer with Coal Chamber.
Yep.
Correct.
That'd be so
Yep.
cool, man.
That's yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little disappointed that you guys aren't coming to Springfield
Yeah.
or even Kansas
Oh.
City or St. Louis, so we can catch that.
It's all right.
But that's okay. Next go
Right.
around.
Used to it.
You guys from Kansas City, right?
No, we're Springfield.
We're
Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri.
Yep.
Oh,
Right.
I think we played Missouri in Static X run in St. Louis, I want to say.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys were there, if you missed it, but
No,
it was like a
I
small
didn't.
club.
Yeah, there was so many of those shows that sold out so fast.
Right,
And it was
yeah,
like
Right.
trying to get tickets to a good show is hard to come by sometimes, especially a bill like that.
Right.
Because I'm a huge Static X fan as well. I mean, Cold Chamber, all of those. I mean, caught all of those bands early on in their early days when they first dropped, and I've been a fan ever since. But when this was announced, I would like a little kid got
Yeah.
all excited
Man,
again.
I mean-
It was like, man, this is going to be a great tour. And then you run down the dates and you're like, oh man, there's not. The closest one I think is Saget, Illinois, and I'm like, okay, that's a
Oh,
little bit of a
Saget.
drive.
One of
So-
the
I
big
mean-
term goals of the tattoo studio is that we want to do more than just, tattoo and just, be cool kids that draw on people, but we want to put on like, events. We want to kind of bring stuff to this community, and we have experience in bands, and we know a lot of really talented people in like engineering and lighting, and we have all the means in the community to build these cool events. We just need to figure out the plan for bringing people through Springfield, so it's and so far we've reached out to a few like people are like, yeah, man, hit us up, we'll see if we can get it to work. And that's the most that we could even hope for was, but we are not afraid to come to you guys if St. Louis and Kansas City, that's a normal drive for us. It's about 3 hours from here. We've
Right.
taken trips to Chicago. In fact, the only time I saw it was 2005, 2004, 2005. There was the first Gigantour with Megadeth.
Oh, nice.
And I remember I had just turned 21 2 days before then, so I got a big $30 beer and I chugged it and made my way to the front during sound check. And Gene Hoglan was on drums at the time, and he kicked the drums so hard it knocked me sober during sound check, and I was mad. But I was like, I will always remember that one show from long ago, where it's just like it's always going to be worth to keep tabs on you guys. And
That's cool. How far driving is Sauget from you guys?
That's probably gonna be close to 5 hours.
Okay. I mean, it's not that bad for the States, but
It's I mean it's
yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean it's a good drive, to get out and plan and go, okay, we're gonna drive this 5 hours, go see the show, and then let's hotel stay and then a drive back. And
yeah,
we're getting kind of old now. We have to be kind of picky. But
I still hope you guys are gonna make it, because it's gonna be an awesome package.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. I mean, it's one of those that it's definitely on my radar, that if the planets align right, that there could be a good chance that could be a Saget drive, and there we go. Because it's Fear Factory, it's Coal Chamber. I mean, you can't ask for two better bands to be together. Like I'm disappointed in myself that I missed the Static X Fear Factory tour. That
Right.
I mean, that's some great stuff right there. Straight up great stuff.
Coal Chamber is probably my, Fear Factory and Coal Chamber has always been my two favorite bands ever. So to sing for one of them and tour with the other, for me, is like, I can die happy after that.
Dude, your world is opening up so quickly. Like that's so cool. Like
yeah, I mean, like Dez was literally like the very first singer that inspired me to sing, become a metal vocalist. I was hooked by his gnarly, unique scream. I think he's one of the most unique screamers ever. I mean, there's a lot of like lack of creativity nowadays. I think it's in metal and screaming, and it's all the same. It's all superly well done, but kind of too much all the same. Back then, every vocalist, every band was unique, and I think he had one of the most unique screams ever. So cool, and such a cool style. So really stoked.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's a great pairing. I mean, period. Hands down, it's a great pairing.
Yeah, it's like a time capsule on stage. Like this.
Exactly. It's crazy, and I'm so, as a 90s new metal or 90s metal fan, whatever, I'm so stoked about all this new metal revival. I think the genre deserves it, and all those bands deserve it, because I think there is a misconception about new metal. People associate it, especially those who hate it, they associate it with like the later early 2000s scene, which was a little bit more like radio friendly, not necessarily bad, but lighter and not as heavy. And I like some of it, but I think that the core of new metal dwells in like the mid 90s, like Coal Chamber, Thorn, and and I think Fear Factory helped that sound, even though they're not considerable as new metal, but I think they really inspired some of the sound of that genre.
Well, it opened up like what you can do in metal. Like just having a vocal style that alternated like it did was something that was like, oh, interesting. It was, like it was brutal, but then it switches up to something more like, I don't know.
It was more melodic
and a little more organic, and it sounded like you were listening to a person, and it was like it was like the duality of it was very effective. And at least for a kid like me with ADD, that was like, oh, okay. And like it was
Same.
So one of the things that we had actually I guess kind of touched on was well, we meant to touch on. There was a moment where in the interviewing process that what was most impressive to Dino, and I think more impressive, we talk about it all the time, was the fact that he could challenge you with any song in the set list, anything, throw it on the table and you would know it. You could perform it pretty much on a dime right there on the spot. Hell of a strategy, apparently, because that was something that really stuck as far as how it goes. So when it comes to the set lists of what you guys are playing on tours currently, does that come into consideration, or is it already decided what songs are going to be played, or is it like, no, this kid can play, he can sing anything, let's just throw the book out there?
So I know for sure that he was impressed for that, so the my knowledge about Fear Factory, not just lyrics wise, but that matters obviously. So he every song he would throw at me, I knew lyrics, but that's because I grew up as an little autistic kid, just listening to it like literally every day and singing it every day, in my bedroom, in my car when I was driving, every time. I was so crazily obsessed with it that I just embedded it. It just feels like it's part of me. And he was like, "Wow, you know more lyrics than I do." Fuck.
That's normal.
So yeah, I guess that was the thing.
Does he ever come to turn to you and be like, pick something obscure, and then you dive deep into something that from some odd release or like B-side that you're like, oh, do you get to flex a bit?
I think not during the audition, but we definitely talk about what about that song? Remember that song? Like,
oh yeah, I know it,
or something like that. Yeah. So
oh, that's cool.
Absolutely. But
so will the set list be a change with the Cold Chamber tour versus the Static X?
We haven't talked about it, also because I still don't know. Maybe Dino does, but I still don't know how much time we get in the Cold Chamber tour. I'm assuming we're support act, so probably I want to say 45 minutes. I think we had 45 minutes in Static X run, 40 minutes in a Machine Head run. So yeah, it's probably going to be somewhere around there,
Okay.
Is there any particular song that you wish was on the set list that's not?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish we could play Securitron, which is one of my favorite songs ever.
Oh yeah.
It's one of my favorite chorus. That melody is like so soothing. I don't know. I wish we would play Final Exit. It's a beautiful song. so emotional.
Well, see, I'm a little heartbroken they're not.
Right.
I know you.
I know people's gonna cry, but it's beautiful. It's when you can shed a fan tears. It's beautiful. It happened before during. It happened during Resurrection, and I was like, wow. When that's the moment where you can actually see the power of music. Like we think, oh, it's just music, but no, it's really like something that can summon the deepest, most hidden emotions in a human being. That's beautiful because they're gathered there for that, because that's beautiful and it's someone's emotions. So yeah, I think there are a lot of emotional Fear Factory songs that would do great live, and other kind of songs too. Like we've been talking about a lot of songs to possibly play live, but the thing is, that is something that we could do mostly on the headlining tour, because when you open, you don't only have so much time, so you want to really like leave the space for the classic, because let's face it, people want the classic. People want to hear Demanufacture and Shock and Edge Crusher. And I get it.
I mean, me too, but yeah, I know.
So then will we get a headlining tour out of this?
So we're playing some extra shows in the Cold Chamber tour. So, and those extra shows are going to be Fear Factory headlining. So hopefully we're going to sneak in some deep cuts,
Yeah.
We've
Man, that
been
would be
playing
nice.
some nice deep cuts every now and then on the headlining shows, like Freedom of Fire. What else? Descent. That's not even like deep cut, you know. It was
I was
just,
saying that.
you know,
I mean,
Right?
I mean, it might be now. I don't know.
I mean, that is still a deep cut. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's back there. I mean, it's pretty old, I would guess.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but the set we played at the Metal Injection Fest last year in Anaheim, that was really cool because that was like the manufactured and obsolete set. So we played a lot of cool songs like Body
Yeah.
Hammer, Self Bites Resistor.
oh, sure.
We played the title track Obsolete probably for the second time ever,
Oh wow.
because the band played it the first time, you know, when the record was released, but
Yeah.
you know, it is a song that didn't get as much love, and we had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah.
We played Smash or Devour, so you know, every now and then we sneak in some deep cuts, and it's a lot of fun because, you know, I think those songs deserve some love. We also played Scapegoat on the Milwaukee Metal Fest and the South American tour last year, and I love that song. So it was great, you know.
Yeah. You get an opportunity to kind of get a second run on some of these, at least the band favorite, you know, some of your favorites, you know, you get to get a round two, you know, because you know, most of the fan base then have grown up. We're adults now. We're kind of boring. All this stuff like, oh, I actually care about good sounding cool things. I see the depth of it now. It just, you know, over time you have that luxury of bringing it back out and be like, remember this? No, well then it's new.
Right. You move from the pit to the seats, and you know you learn to enjoy the whole thing and
Right.
take it in, as opposed to, you know, you're still the fan, and then still, like I said, instead of being in the pit, you're sitting in the seat and really absorbing the whole thing, you know. And if for me at my age, I think it's spectacular. I get to enjoy the music so much more, and have so much more respect for it now than I did back then. I mean, I enjoyed it as a, you know, when I was younger, but to be able to sit back and watch a band physically perform and enjoy every moment on that stage performing those songs is golden for me. I mean, there's nothing like that. I mean, I don't want to take away anything from the kids in the pit, because
Yeah.
they're kids in the pit. That's
Yeah.
what they're there for. But
Get
you know,
it, bros.
Right.
I just, yeah, the pit's not for me. I enjoy thoroughly watching a solid show and being, you know, being able to walk out and not have all these knocks and bruises and bloody noses, and you know, and be able to go,
Yeah.
wow, that was a badass show, you know. And
I survived with my back intact.
Right.
I'm fine.
I mean, I'm just like you guys, you know, when I'm just a music fan, you know, and I show up to shows, and I just like to be, you know, possibly front row and then being as close as possible with my heroes, and just
Sure.
and just enjoy the moment. But I have a lot of respect for the dudes in the pit, because that they seriously take some guts, you know. It's
Yeah.
really, I remember first time I saw Slipknot in Italy was 2015 during the Great Chapter tour, and I remember they opened up with the Sarkastrophe song. And man, I was, for some reason, I didn't even know I was in the middle of the pit, because the opening band, you know, people was just standing still, you know, just vibing to it. But when Slipknot opened up, it was like, you know, the song opens with like a drum beat, you know, and when the drum kicks in, and Corey's like, "Ciao Milano," and fucking exploded. And me and my
Right.
brother found ourselves in the middle of a fucking, I don't know, war. It was crazy. You know, so after 3 songs, the people just broke the barricade, and Corey had to stop the show and be like, you know, do one step backward. We cannot continue the show. You crazy motherfuckers broke the barricade. It was,
Yeah.
Wow.
that
That's
was really
crazy.
rough.
Slipknot
so I
pits,
was
there's
like-
always good stories at Slipknot pits. I
Yeah.
mean, as a matter of fact, it was funny. I was just talking to one of my clients last night about a Slipknot pit, you know, to where I want to say it was one of the Ozfests. And, you know, I think it was in Sacramento. It's 105 degrees out, you know, and you're standing in the middle of the pit. I got in there like right towards the end of Hatebreed, and Slipknot went on. And course, it just is, it erupts, it moves, and you're just in this hot thing. And all of a sudden I hear out of my right ear, this girl screaming, I can't see, I can't see. And I'm thinking, well, we're in a pit, nobody can see, it's hot, it's
Well, no
whatever.
shit. Yeah.
So she keeps yelling this, and I swear to God, I turn around and she's like, no, really, I can't see. She pulls her eye down like this. She literally had no eyeball in her eye socket.
Oh man.
And I'm like, wow, okay, so yeah, you can't see. So yeah, go ahead, get up front. You need to get up there.
See,
And,
I overheard the
Wow.
conversation. I thought maybe she just lost her eyeball in the
she
pit.
did not lose no eyeball in the pit. She just did not have one
What?
in there. And it was just the
What?
craziest thing I'd ever seen.
Really cool story.
Right?
She lost
Yeah,
her
like
eye.
she had no eyeball in her eye socket
She was
at all.
blinded.
She had
Bring
one
her
eye.
to the front.
One eye. Yeah, I'm like, she can't see. So yeah, she needs to be up front.
Yeah.
So
Wow,
yeah,
that's brutal.
I mean, and it
That's
was
so
a
brutal.
Slipknot pit. I mean, no joke. That you can't make that stuff up. It was crazy, crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
I
watched this-
I learned my lesson back then. Slipknot pit. Don't fuck around. Just
No,
Right.
they don't.
brutal. Yeah,
And you know what? Neither do Machine Head pits.
Oh,
I
that's
know.
right. Yeah.
I know. We were. I was watching them almost every night during this tour. And then they're spectacular, and the pits are just fucking incredible.
It's
And
insanity.
Rob. Yeah, and Rob, it's a great frontman and knows how to command the crowd and get them going. It fascinates me a lot. It's definitely an inspiration.
He did. They did. Speaking of Machine Head, they did a small little club run that passed through here in Springfield, and I went and saw him. It was November of 2022, and they literally played. I mean, I think it was 150 people, maybe. Was
Oh,
at this
yeah.
at the show? Like it was like a little bar that they set up in, and they just leveled that place. It was by far one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen. To see a heavy band like that come in and play literally a hole in the wall, and
Wow.
just they turned people away because there was no way that they could fit any more people in, and it
Wow.
just one big giant pit from wall to wall, and that's all it was.
Wow.
It's just amazing. And and I cannot imagine, even like, I'm sure you saw that at Sick New World when you guys were playing your set. There had to have been numerous pits out in front of you.
Yeah. I remember we had one on the left, one on the right, and it was really cool. That was probably my first outdoor festival ever. And it was crazy. Literally, even though we played like early around like 1 p.m., but it was still like packed.
Yeah.
And
Was that one of your biggest shows you played?
I would say, I would say probably the biggest, because before that, my biggest show was probably like 4,000 people or something. We played.
Yeah, that's got to be awesome, or unnerving,
Yeah.
or scary. I don't know.
I mean, what is
Yeah.
it? Sick New World, what was that? You're talking what, 50, 60,000?
I mean, probably in total, like people everywhere in the festival were like more than 80,000, but
Ooh,
the one that were watching us were probably at least, I want to say, 40 to 50,000.
yeah,
There were-
dude,
Yeah,
was a lot of
that's
people.
That's gotta be
insanity.
so weird.
That's gotta be the coolest feeling in the world,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. At a certain point,
Yeah.
no one face matters. It's all just this ocean of.
Of just people.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was so cool, and the people response was so good, and it was
I
really. And one thing that I love about festival is that it's a shorter set list, which of course it's not as good for the fans, but I rather play less songs because I can give more, my top game, 100% energy. It's like 30-minute set, boom, you go there, you kill it, and that's it.
Yeah.
I watched clips, man. You guys were on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was cool. It was super, super cool to see.
Yeah.
Again, another festival I wish I could make. That's something else. That's a huge,
Thanks.
huge festival, especially to squeeze all of that into one day.
Oh yeah, that was nuts. You had multiple bands and probably 5 or 6 stages playing at the same time. That was crazy.
That's
And,
nuts. Yeah. But then to be able to get that kind of draw when you guys are on, you know, putting you in front of all of those faces and all of those people that had doubts, and here you are, you know, repping Fear Factory, you know,
Yeah.
and
right.
big middle finger to all those people that hate, you know. So
Yeah.
No, again, we're very excited about what you guys are doing, and I know it's a really brave move for everyone to kind of revamp and regather and grow. And we're incredibly proud of you and all your work.
Thank you.
I mean, you're that cool story that everybody feels like they wish that they could hit, but it's possible. You know, you become a fan of something, you put the time in, you pay your dues, you know, and I don't know, man, it's an incredible story.
Well, thank you. And I think the most crazy thing in all these stories that I'm from Italy, you know, you wouldn't expect to be.
from Italy.
Yeah.
It's exactly almost exactly what happened to Journey, the band Journey, the
Right.
band Cornel Pinata from the Philippines. You know, that was even more crazy because, you know, the third world country, you know, the guy was homeless, you know, but just the fact that he had an amazing voice and it was just sounding just like the other guy, which I can't remember the name right now. But anyway, you know,
Steve Perry.
Right.
So yeah, you know, that's crazy. You know, they practically picked him, you know, and saved him from the homeless life and just made him a rock star. You know, and that's just, you know, it's emotional. But yeah, you know, that's similar to what happened to me. You know, I was in Rome, nothing really big going on, just local musician, you know, struggling with a bunch of shit in life, and you know, and then you become the singer of your favorite band, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man, that's such a cool story.
Yeah, you know,
And,
you may have thought, you know, they would have picked up someone from, I don't know, from LA or even from Missouri, but
Right.
oh, yeah, not much happens around here, but LA, oh yeah, absolutely. No.
Yeah.
But every now and then we have some zingers in Springfield that nobody knows about, that we're part of a pretty close-knit community of creators and artists and stuff, where we actually had an interview with a close friend of mine who's done a lot of the album artwork for some of our favorite bands of that generation, and nobody even knows they live right next door to them. And
yeah.
You know,
well,
so,
actually, my favorite rap artist is from Missouri, Tech Nine.
Oh yeah, Tech Nine. Yeah.
I love that guy.
That guy, I'm not a big rap guy, but he works.
He's a workaholic.
He's always working. So that's
he's got his hands in everything.
Yeah. And he's a big metal fan. He's done a lot of featuring with like Corey Taylor, Jonathan David, System of a Down, Serj Tankian.
He's almost like the new Cypress Hill, who always had something going on at metal shows. He was the one rapper that everybody's like, nah, he's cool.
Right? Yeah, we got
it. and his rap is just crazy. I think his rhythm patterns in his rap should be studied in the conservatory, like the solfeggio classes. You know, it's just crazy. So yeah.
Well, I guess we're taking a bit of your time, but is there anything in particular that you want to talk about? Anything you need to plug, or anything the band is going through, or you're personally going through right now that you want to share? You want people to know?
Well, you know, again, I want to say thank you to everyone that's supporting us, and it's really important to us. So I'm really humbled and honored. So thank you all. But we're now, as you just mentioned, you know, we're about to embark on the Cold Chamber tour in August. But before that, we have so we're gonna play, of course, Daytona, Rockville and Daytona Beach this Sunday. Which is another cool festival, and after that we'll be back home for a while and then play a bunch of European festivals in June, pretty much all of June. So you know, if you're in one of those cities, you know, come on over and rock the fuck out.
We're already making plans to be back in Rome again. Actually, as of like 2 days ago, we were thinking about an opportunity to go and set up and guest tattoo at the Bad Church there and right there in Rome.
Oh, cool.
But hey, you know, we were talking about just reaching out to him because I want to talk to him. I want to get to know him. So there's definitely a trip back to Rome at some point.
So from my understanding, you guys run a tattoo business?
We do,
Yeah,
yeah.
we were on a tattoo studio.
that's
Yeah,
nice.
we're a
That's
Cryptic
nice.
Tattoo and Social Gallery here in Springfield.
Nice, man. Yeah, if you come to Rome, definitely I can hook you up with my tattoo artist that did this. He's a longtime Fear Factory fan.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
there
that
you
looked
go.
familiar. I saw it. I saw it in one of your other interviews. I'm like, yep, I see it.
Yeah.
And that's a crazy story because at time I barely knew him. I knew him by name because he's a huge name in Rome in the tattoo environment. So but then I was talking with a friend of mine, which is a friend of him, and he was there, and I didn't know who he was, So I was telling this friend of mine, I'm getting the gig with Fear Factory. And he's like, what? Sorry, excuse me. You said you're becoming using a Fear Factory. I'm like, yeah, you know them. And you wouldn't expect. I live in a small coast periphery in Rome. You wouldn't expect a dude to know Fear Factory, And he's like, "You're kidding? I grew up with Demanufactured, my favorite band, blah blah blah." So if you get the gig, I want to give you a free tat. So when I went back to Rome from the first 2 tours in the summer of last year, I played a local show with my band, and he showed up and he's like, "Yo, remember about me? I want to give you a free tag. Come in my studio." And I'm like, "Dude, thank you." So yeah, it was a really nice gift by him. And but yeah, if you come to Rome, let me know. I can show you around.
That would be awesome. Well, if you come to Springfield, then we will show you around our area.
I mean, you're
Yeah,
looking at the back half of the studio that we turned into a film studio for, like, basically art outreach and podcasting and but yeah, when you come through, you got plenty of empty chairs to sit and hang out with us, man.
Oh yeah,
I'm more than happy to sit with you.
Oh, nice.
I mean, bring everybody.
Absolutely, and I like all this cool background.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Sick as fuck.
This was handmade. This is 160 skulls, all handmade and then hand painted.
No way.
Mounted to stage, and then we put curtains in the back of it. Yeah.
Did you make it?
Yes. Both of us. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took us about 2 weeks to do it all.
Studio, we saw this back wall, and we knew that we were wanting to, because the social gallery aspect of it is we wanted to have a cool venue for artists and for art education and just hangouts and creative painting sessions and figure drawing and everything. But when we saw this wall, we were like, what else could we do with it? It's like, you want to do a podcast? The only thing cooler than doing tattooing is the experience. The whole industry has changed so much in the last few years. We have a lot to talk about. So about 3.
Is it carved? It looks like it's carved.
Every one of those are made of plaster of Paris. We made them out of plaster, and then went through and mounted them to a stage, basically like a big 6 foot by, is it 6 by 6?
6 by 6.
6 by 6 foot wall in 2 pieces. Strong armed them up on the wall, bolted them to the wall, and then affixed, and then went in and hand painted every one of them, and then added some lighting. We have some theater curtains and everything that you can't really see too awful well in this shot, but. Yeah. It's been taken off. We've had a lot of photographers want offers. We've had one in particular in the area that should get her business off the ground. Cosplayers, and photo shoots, and
yeah, that's cool, man. It creates kind of vibe for sure.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. On the actual Artistry Unearthed podcast, episode 0. The very first one, the very first awkward episode that we ever posted on the YouTube and the on Spotify. Right off the bat, we go into it with pictures and video clips and stuff of us putting it together and building it, and just kind of talking about it, which a lot of people really liked, to see the behind the scenes process of a couple of nerds in their dungeon making skull walls.
That's so amazing. It's a piece of art. Great.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, he came back and he was like, "Man, we need to make something that looks like the catacombs." And I'm like, "All right, well, and then he went and bought these molds, and then he started making them. And the more I watched him, I was like, all right, he's serious about this. And so we stood back here every day for almost 2 weeks, and we just poured molds and molds and molds. And then, as you said, the rest of it's kind of history. I mean, we spent a whole day painting them, and it was some good bonding moments.
And then my wife and I went and toured around the crypts and stuff in Rome like a few months later, and I'm like looking around like, man, theirs are kind of cooler. I'm granted one of them. Most of the bones and stuff were stored away. Like I guess they had to make a change where they couldn't have them out on display. But there was there was one of the Capuchin monks. They still had theirs. And that I even got a hoodie for that place because that place was cool. But yeah, they had like bones and stuff like in star shapes and big like arrangements and stuff. And I'm like, I don't know, that seems pretty hardcore. These are actual human bodies. I think we're fine with just our skull wall. I don't think I need
well,
to start.
actually in Rome, in the periphery of Rome, sometimes I drive through there. There is a McDonald's with glass pavements, right, with the glass floor, so you can see through it. And that McDonald's is built on catacombs, basically.
Of course.
Wow. Of course it is.
If you look down through the glass, you can clearly see the real skeletons, like full body skeletons.
I saw a sign for McDonald's, but never saw one.
Oh, see, you should have went.
Because we went all the way to, we did a wine date in Tuscany. We went to Pompeii. We went to Positano. We did a whole bunch of stuff that week. Never once saw a single like fast food restaurant. And I was like, I'm impressed. But knowing that there was, that okay, so yeah, we're going back.
So you should have went to the McDonald's.
And I must say, for some reason, McDonald's in Italy is not that bad. I mean, still McDonald's, but
Dude, I mean, I was afraid. I think the only thing, Coca-Cola and Fresca, nothing else. And I'm just like, their Coca-Cola is better. Right? It seems like you guys pay attention to your health, or at least
I know. I don't know why even the Coke Zero, Diet Coke here in America tastes like sugar, and I'm like, it's not supposed to have sugar, is it?
It's worse than that. It's sweetener.
It's worse
than
than
that. Sugar. I think that's the biggest reason why the Coke is so much better there, because at least it's real sugar. Here, it's high fructose corn syrup, which is considered poison to most of Europe.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Here in America, that's our bread and butter. I mean, that's our lifeblood is oil and corn syrup.
I know. That's so sad, because I don't want to talk crap about the States, because I think they would potentially be like a great country as far as food go, but the problem is the government, with all the chemical crap.
Every crap. That's just
because a lot of when we of course we Italians, we always brag about our food, best in the world, blah blah blah. There are some people in the comment section of some food reels and Instagram is like, you're talking crap, about. No, I'm not. But
your food is much simpler and much smaller portions. But yeah, like I ate the same pasta and same margarita pizza for a week straight, and I never got tired of it. It's so good,
right? and you don't get fat, and you can eat pasta pizza every day, and you barely get fat.
Yeah. No,
it's just crazy.
Everywhere you go is little tiny patisseries and little tiny coffee shops, independently owned. It was very refreshing to just. I don't mean being the big burly bearded guy in like flannel, like everybody knew where I came from, and everybody, and for the most part they were kind, but like there was no denying I'm almost 6'4". I stood out. I wore jeans and flannel, and I kept the hat off, because respect, right? But they definitely saw me coming a mile away. They're like, "You want double?" I'm like, "No, thank you. I appreciate it." I think in one of the crypts they were talking about when the crypts were raided and some of the fresco paintings and stuff were chiseled off the wall and stolen by barbarians, so to speak. And I remember the guide was trying to explain, like, so they're like these big burly guys, they had big beards, and then like he kind of looked over the crowd and he goes, it looks like that guy. And everybody turned to me and I'm like, I have no fresco paintings. I promise, this was long ago. But I do like that one. Like so
I would use it in my home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of art, and it's beautiful. I think we get used to it because we live in there, but I think when you see it through foreigner eyes, you really understand how lucky you are living there with all that art, and I think our food is part of the art. That's our one of our forms of art. So
yeah. Well, man, it was such an awesome time hanging out with you and chatting.
Yeah,
we learned so much.
Same.
And
thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Keep up the great work. We'll be following along with you, man. And then if we're ever within range of each other, like we'll just keep in contact. You know, hit us up, let us know. We'll let you know. Like, but again, very proud of you. Very proud of the whole band for keeping it alive and keeping it going.
Right.
Best to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, much love. Yeah, are we good? And you have any questions here?
No, I'm good. Now, like my day is complete.
Yeah, this is a huge deal for us.
Yeah, this was a huge deal for me. Huge deal.
Thank you guys for having me. You know, it's always a pleasure, and I always like to have a chat. So
yeah, very much.
Well,
very much.
Definitely, we'll have to have you back on sometime after
Sure.
a couple good runs out there, and you can kind of relax a bit. And we'll have to have you back on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You guys be safe out there.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully we'll catch you in Saget.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, looking forward to that. Come on over. We're gonna have.
All righty, cool, man.
Man.
All right, you guys have a nice day.
Much.
You too. Bye.